The New York Giants do it again. They are 6-1 after their thrilling ending to a 23-17 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. David Turner joins me next on the Locked On Giants podcast to break it all down. Stick around.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Giant fans, today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times the amount of your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. All right, Giant fans, welcome to a new edition of the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm Patricia Traina, your host, joined by David Turner, former NFL scout. And the Giants did it again. They won 23-17 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one a little bit sloppy at the end, but nonetheless, a win is a win. And a lot of growth, a lot of moxie shown by these Giants. 2 100-yard rushing performances, one by Saquon, one by Daniel Jones. David, just a really good win for the team, but a little bit sloppy there at the end, as I mentioned.
Well, I thought it was a gritty win. It was a gritty win that we're going to be very happy to have in the W corner. But there's a lot of learning lessons from it for sure. There's definitely going to be learning lessons here. A lot of coach film that they can coach people up on defense and offense, But we lost 2 offensive linemen in the game. A terrible injury to the tight end, which didn't get talked about enough. I think he's out of the local hospital.
Yeah, he's out of the hospital. He's traveling back to the team Sunday night, and he's going to see an eye doctor in New York on Monday morning.
Yeah, so that was kind of a scary moment. I mean, he got a really bad finger into the eye. Yeah. At first, I was like, why is he laying on the ground? Then they showed the replay. I'm like, oh, that's why.
Reminded me of Brian Williams. Remember the Brian Williams injury years ago? And the poor guy was never the same after that.
Yeah, it was surprising of how they treated it, how seriously they treated it. So, obviously we got him in our prayers, and we're thinking about him because he's just started to come on early in the third quarter. I was like, they need to hit Bellinger more. He's wide open. They missed him a couple of times. I was texting you, and then he got hurt. So, but I think it all in all, really good points to talk about tonight about this, and some good coaching tape to tape off of for tomorrow. And it's great to have coaching tape on W's because the players they know they didn't play well, but they still got the win, and that is a great message in the locker room. Like, hey, we don't have to play our best to win; we just have to win, right? And it came right down to that last pass that the defense stopped at the goal line. So I think there's going to be some great coaching film here.
Yeah, not to mention that some of the players, just based on what I was seeing coming out of the locker room, upset over how they kind of, finished that game because it was sloppy. Like I said, Saquon not being able to get out of bounds, to stay in bounds at the end there, which gave the Jaguars over a minute left to try and mount something back. The penalties, back-to-back penalties on defense. But at the end, they came through. They were determined not to let Kirk get that 1 yard that he needed for payday, and they came through with it. But let's start with the offense because Daniel Jones continues to play well. A lot of good decisions. 19 of 30. He probably should have been 22 of 30. I think there were about 3 drops that I counted. He threw for 202 yards. Long of 32, the 32-yard touchdown to Darius Slayton to open the game up. And he was only sacked once, despite the fact losing 2 offensive linemen, which I thought was pretty good. And, the other thing I like about him, and we talked about it, you and I were texting during the game, they were having him run. There were some design runs, but he was sliding and he was being smart about getting out of bounds or getting down.
Right. And, when I went to the stat sheet after the game, because I was like, me, I'm always curious. I got that curious nature. We didn't have 1 3-and-out today. The shortest was a 5-play drive in the third quarter. Everything else was over 7 plays, a couple 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s. So, I mean, we were able to stay on the field. We were able to give our defense a rest. We were able to move the ball down the field, much to the, chagrin of this defense that was supposed to be pretty stout with the run. But lo and behold, here we go, and we have Saquon and Daniel go for over 100. So, that was great. And in the first quarter, I think Saquon had like a -1 yard run or something. Like we didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was ripping off here, folks, 25 yards a quarter to get to that 100. It really came. The bulk of it came in the second half, but also towards that middle of the second quarter, we started to see Saquon take over and do some things. He had some really nice catch after run after the catches and stuff too out of the backfield. But what they left open all day, Jacksonville left open all day, as I text you, was Daniel Jones. They did not,
Bellinger, you mean?
huh?
The tight end,
No,
right?
they left Daniel
Oh,
Jones
Daniel Jones, the
to run
quarterback.
it,
Okay. Yeah.
to
Okay. Yeah.
run
The
it
runs.
all day long. They didn't really guard him much. It was like
Mm.
they weren't threatened by him running, which ultimately I think did Jacksonville in because he kept drives going. He got some key first downs. He picked up stuff with his legs that we weren't seeing earlier in the season. People respected Daniel Jones. This one, it seemed like they kind of sold out on stopping Barkley on certain plays, and Kafka and Dable were like, "Hey, we're gonna run Daniel on these plays. We see them selling out to stop Barkley. We're gonna roll them out." And I'm not one. And you listen to this show all the time, and you know me. I'm not one to profess roll out Daniel Jones or run the quarterback. I like them being in the pocket, throwing the ball. But today, that was what was open. They called his number. He answered. It was a really nice game put together by Daniel Jones. Like you said, he probably could have been 22 of 30, but again, they kept him down to about 30 passes. He had 202 yards, something like that, and he still ran for 100. This is an efficient offense. This is one that we can build off of. And again, there's still lessons. There were some missed blocks. There were some drops, like you said. I think there was a couple misreads. About 4 misreads by Daniel, being fair, that he could have hit some people, and even Wandell on one for a touchdown, and he missed that. He missed that opportunity. So great coaching tape, but again, take the positive here. You got the W, even ugly.
Yeah, and you when I mentioned Bellinger early in the game before the injury, you were commenting to me about how he was open and how get him more involved. And I think I even tweeted that at some point. I said, "Wow, they haven't thrown to the tight ends," and you were saying how wide open he was getting. So that's why when you said Daniel, I thought right away in the beginning Bellinger. But you're right about Daniel Jones. It just seems like first off, that ankle injury that he had, I think we can all say that it's not a factor. And you kind of wonder if maybe, the Giants' usage of him. Now, last week, I don't think he did as much running as he has done in the past. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, are they playing cat and mouse a little bit with the opponent? But yeah, it was surprising to see Daniel so wide open. And, he carried the ball 11 times, 107 yards is a career high for him, 107 yards, averaged 9.7 yards per carry, which is pretty darn good against that Jacksonville run defense. Saquon, 110 yards, 24 carries, average of 4.6. Matt Breida got into the mix a little bit, 19 yards on 4 carries. So overall, the Giants, 236 rushing yards on 39 carries. That's a 6.1 average. Not bad considering, the questionable hands of the receivers today.
Well, not bad with the injuries we had up front. I mean, think about that. We
Mhm.
weren't doing that with our starting offensive line either. I think both guards were backups at this point, and we were able to still move people off the ball, open up lanes, get that wide stretch run going. So, and again, if it was all Daniel Jones running, I wouldn't be so complimentary of the offensive line, but it wasn't. Like they got Barkley and Breida going a little. So again, the offensive line beat up and bruised still opened up holes for the running game, which is what this Giants identity really needs to be, as we said all along. And I love how they're embracing that. I really do. I mean, they really did not get discouraged in that first quarter when that stout Jacksonville defense was stopping the run. you know what? They kept punching the ball. They kept punching the ball, kept punching the ball. Then you saw by the third and fourth quarter, especially in the fourth quarter, on the last couple drives, Saquon had some nice runs. Like he was ripping off some runs there, right? So that just, that's what a good running game does, is that you're going to, have to loosen that defense up. But the more you lean on them, the more you move them around, the better offensive line play you have later in the game to open up those holes to really finish games the way we finished. And like you said, if Saquon would have got down inbounds, they only would have got the ball back with like 36 seconds or something like that. And he was kicking himself for not getting down, and he should have, because, again, he's a smart player. He knows that you got to play situational football at the end of the games, especially. And you got to get down in bounds. Just turn it upfield, get tackled in bounds. Don't let yourself get out of bounds in that situation.
That was like the longest minute and 7 seconds
Oh my
I've ever
gosh.
sat. I kept saying,
I've had
"Oh
more
my gosh.
enjoyable root canals than that minute 7 seconds. I mean, it
Oh
was
my
just like,
gosh."
oh my good. And then all the penalties. Oh geez.
Yeah, the penalties and oh my gosh, it was like the longest minute and 7 seconds. It was, I mean, thankfully it ended, and that last play, we'll talk about the defense in the next segment, but that last play, whew, I'll tell you that I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, please don't blow it. Please don't blow it." Because, they had fought back. And, what is it though? This team now, what is this, like the fifth time that they've come from behind this season to win something like that? I mean, what's the difference do you see in this team, as opposed to, okay, we're down, and in the past they just wouldn't finish games. Now they're finishing games. Is that just a mindset, or is it just, because they've been stacking up wins, they're able to say, okay, you know what, we're down, but we're going to come back anyway?
I think we saw it early in the year, right? When we were talking about the offense wasn't really starting to come on till the second half, those adjustments in the second half, right?
Mhm.
Well, now the players, I thought today was a great first drive, one of the better first drives we've seen of the season, right? Even though Daniel threw the ball all over the place, he still had a very efficient first drive, led us straight down for a touchdown, right? So that was great. But I think the players believe in the second half now because of the adjustments that have been being made to be proven right. They're like, hey, you know what? We're down. Coach is going to make some adjustments. We're going to be fine, because he's proven that to them all year, both on offense and defense. Our defense tends to be better in the second half as well. Wink and Dable both seem to make really good halftime adjustments. Now today, I want to say the defense wasn't as impressive as it had been, though we made some impressive plays, right? It wasn't as impressive as we've seen in the past a few weeks, but still there is some very good things to take away from what we saw on defense today.
Right. We're going to talk about that in just a bit. But before we do, David, I'm going to ask you the same question also when we get to the defense. But you've always spoken about how we've got to wait about 6 weeks or so into the season for identities. We are now done with 7 weeks. Offensively, what is this team's identity?
I think you saw is that run game. We don't our receivers are banged up and bruised. We're dropping balls, but they're staying with the run game, and they're utilizing Daniel. Today they utilized Daniel. I don't support that on a week-to-week basis, right? I don't. But today Jacksonville was not guarding the quarterback, so you got to call that play as much as to my chagrin, I don't want them to, right? But they got to call that play because it's what's there. You got to take what they're giving you. Daniel was able to capitalize. He made some smart plays. Like you said, he ran out of bounds a few times, slid a couple times. He picked up what he could, and he made some good first downs. So I think the identity on offense is we're going to run the football. Barkley is our bell cow, and this is what we're going to do. And Daniel has to make enough throws to keep them from stacking the box, because if he doesn't make those throws, that box is going to get crowded for Shad.
Yes, indeed. Now, some final numbers from an offensive perspective. Giants had 436 net yards of offense, which I think is their highest this season, if I'm not
I think so
mistaken.
too. It was awesome.
They were 50% on third down conversions. Let's see. They had 236 net yards rushing, 39 total rushing plays, 200 net yard passing, okay, which is what we said. What were they? Penalties, they eight penalties, touchdowns. Let's see. Red zone. I want to see red zone. Red zone, the Giants were only 1 of 5 in the red zone, which, not good, but, and the time of possession, 34-10 to 25-50. Not
Right,
bad.
but the thing in the red zone today was it the third drive? I think they were down there, and they went for it on fourth down and everything. That's
Mm-hmm.
the one Daniel missed because they ran
Right.
a rub route. He tried to go inside with the throw when Waddell was open on the out. So if he hits that throw, we don't even care. We're done. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why I said there's some good tape here. There was a missed block when Shaq was trying to run the ball there, and they let a guy knife in from the backside when the tackle, I think it was the left tackle, maybe it was the tight end, should have blocked down and kept that corner from being able to knife through. Again, coaching, right? So
Yep.
that, like I said, it's good to coach off this kind of tape when it's a win, because even though it's a win, like you said, the players recognize they didn't play their best, so they're not coming in going, "Oh, we're so great, we're 6-1." No, they're like, "Dang, we got away with one. We need to get better. We can't do that again because we'll lose the next one like that." So it's a good mentality. It's great to have the W and move forward. But I think the identity of this team really is run, play action, passing. I'd love to see more design rollouts for Daniel, cutting the field in half for him. I really hate when they run those single receiver over the middle plays. Like today, he got one intercepted, but we got a call back for the pass or the roughing the passer call, and then they try to run it again later, and I wanted to kill him. I was like, listen, that play needs to just get thrown out of the playbook, okay?
Well, they got away with it for sure. So, all right. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to also find out what identity the defense has developed through these first 7 weeks of the season. That's coming up right after this. Hey, Giant fans. This episode is brought to you by Prediction Strike, the world's first sports stock market. You can now invest in professional athletes just like stocks, and it's a lower risk alternative to sports betting, and athlete prices move based on performance and supply and demand. Trading refers to buying and selling of your shares of players. You are trading with Prediction Strike as the house, which means you don't need a buyer or seller to execute your desired trade. You can trade anytime you want, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, or MMA. And all athletes benefit as well, as they are entitled to a percentage of their market cap. Download the Prediction Strike app today and use the code LOCKED for a free share when you sign up, and make a first deposit of $20 and more. That's promo code LOCKED for a special one-time giveaway. Prediction Strike will choose one person who signs up with the code LOCKED and makes a deposit to win 100 free random shares that could be worth up to $3,000 if you get lucky. Invest in what you know on Prediction Strike, the stock market for sports. Hey, Giant fans, whether you're looking to pop the question or have a milestone to celebrate, Blue Nile can help you make your celebrations even more memorable. Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers, and has helped millions of couples create the perfect engagement ring. Use their easy online tools to create the perfect ring, or if you're looking for that special one-of-a-kind piece to commemorate a special occasion, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift no matter what your budget. Shop stress-free with Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee. All Blue Nile orders are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging. They also offer overnight shipping if you're in a rush. So go ahead, make your moment sparkle with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON to save $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. Again, that website is Blue Nile, BlueNile.com, with the promo code LOCKEDON to save $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com, promo code LOCKEDON. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Locked On Giants podcast. Patricia Traynor here with you, and David Turner, former NFL scout We're breaking down the New York Giants win over the Jacksonville Jaguars 23-17.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Yes, indeed. I keep waiting. I don't know if it's just because I'm conditioned from the 10 years of basically bad football
Don't
for this
jinx
team.
them. Don't do
No,
it.
I'm just saying, I keep
Don't
waiting.
you do it,
I
Patricia.
won't.
But
All right.
don't even let those
By the
words
way,
leave your
speaking of
mouth. Don't let them leave your lips.
Speaking of jinxes, I joked about this on my show Friday. I said, I've always picked against the Giants and they've won. They've done the opposite. I picked them to win this week. So that jinx is now broken. For those of you who are superstitious and those of you who are ready to probably wring my neck at the Giants loss, you would have been like, you picked them to win. So folks, the jinx is over. This team is legit. It's for real. And I don't know about the rest of you, but this is awesome. I've always said it. I love covering winning football teams more than losing football teams. It's easier. It's more fun. It's
Of course it is.
I mean, but see, the media's got a bad rap. It's like we're accused of wanting the bad stuff so that we have stories and stuff. I think we've got more to write about when they win, just personally. But that's just my take on it. But anyway, David, let's talk about this Giants defense. You were saying in the first segment, not as crisp of a game for them. What did you see as being the biggest issue with the Giants defense?
Well, I didn't see as stout as I would have liked up front with the run game. ATN got way too much room in the past few games. Like people had to really earn those rushing yards. Like the first half, people had to earn those rushing yards. Today, ATN kind of got away with it quickly. We did give up 452 yards on defense today, out of which the rushing yards were 142 of them. And 310 were passing. So, but for me, I think what opened up more of those passing lanes was that they had early success rushing. ATN ripped off some early runs, and that really, I think, got Wink not questioning, but he got him like in his head a little bit. I think he cleaned it up a little bit later, shut down the run a little bit later in the game, but still, it was something I didn't think our run defense was as crisp as the first 6 games. And I know we gave up running yards each week. I get that. So when you go to the stats, people might be like, "What are you talking about?" But when you watch the game, like even against Carolina, right? Like Christian had 1 yard or 1 run that was like 40 yards or something. If you would have taken that out of the rushing total, we were under 100 yards running in the game. That's what I'm saying. Like we've been pretty stout in the rush defense and giving up like a run here or a run there, which caused them to be in the stat sheet looking good. But it really was like we were pretty stout. So today, though, I really felt like ATN was getting after it. He's had an 8.1 yard average, 14 attempts on 100, and he got 114 yards and a touchdown. So, that was one thing I was like, if we could have locked them down a little bit more, I think that would have freed Wink up to, release the hounds to go hunting a little bit more in the past game.
Yeah, let me ask you something with the run defense. To me, now I know against the Ravens, they kind of gave it up a little bit, like you said, but the run defense hasn't been as sharp, I think, all year long. Have you seen something in particular that's behind it? I mean, how much of the Leonard Williams injury was a factor? Is Leonard maybe still not 100% where, that run defense is still struggling, or is it the linebackers or something else?
Okay, so I think it's a mixture right now. And first is that they haven't played enough together as a unit. So Leonard got hurt. Obviously, Ojulari and Thibodeaux were hurt. So people, when you're playing run defense, your fits are key. Like where you're shooting your gaps, how you're spacing between your other defenders on your team are key. And right now, they're still trying to figure that out. I think our middle linebacker play is still not up to par. We're not filling those gaps, but this defense hasn't been healthy playing with each other. I mean, Ojulari's still not out there, right?
He's on IR now.
Yeah, he's on IR now. So, again, we don't have all the horses that we thought we were going into the season. And then as we're going through this, we've had a few more injuries. So, I think we're still I still like what we're seeing from this defense. Don't get me wrong. People don't think I'm like trying to pee on the parade here because I'm not. All right. But what I'm telling you is I just don't think that they've played well enough to anticipate where Leonard's going to be, where Lawrence is going to be, and then the middle linebackers know, okay, I got to fit here because that's where they're going to be. Some of the best defenses have that continuity, and they know each other well enough to know where to be, how to shoot gaps, how to do things, how to hold up the alignment, and all that kind of stuff for each other. So, again, when I said give them 6-7 weeks to be there, that was with a healthy team, right? We're not healthy just yet, but we're still getting there. Again, first 6 weeks, there's only been a couple runs that really got ripped off. This was the first game where I thought Jacksonville's running ability, front kind of pushed us around a little bit, and they were able to do more than what we would have liked them to do. But don't get me wrong, I still think I see what Wink's doing, and he's got this team believing in themselves and believing in their ability. So, it's going to come. You're going to see in the next few weeks this defense as it gets healthier and as people start to figure out these continuity things of run fits and even rush fits when they're rushing and all that kind of stuff. More they play together inside the concept of this defense and with Wink calling the plays, it's going to get fun. It's already fun to me, but it's going to get, I think, more fun for the average fan soon.
Can we talk about Kayvon Thibodeaux and how this young man is already affecting the game now? I thought there were times when he was just mugged and there were no calls, but this guy, he's given the offense some things to think about. I mean, are you seeing that as well with him? And I'm sure he's nowhere near his ceiling. I mean, how much better can he get?
I told you 2 weeks ago when we did the show, he was affecting the offense. You remember? I was like, this kid 2 weeks ago. And you're seeing it still. It's what's good about him is that was it last week he cried after the game, whatever, when he made that play, right? And people were kind of getting on him. I'm like, dude, the kid cares.
Sure.
Like, the kid in college had all this pressure on him to lead the Ducks and do all this and that. Then he got hurt, and then that affected him mentally. Obviously, he cares. He wants to be a go-to staple for the team. He wants to be that guy that makes the play. Even in the third or fourth play from the scrimmage today, he's chasing ATN down from the backside, like running him down and making a tackle. It was like, what? Like, ATN's a quick little sucker. And, here comes Thibodeaux, a big old boy, just running him down. So it's a situation where I think Thibodeaux, his ceiling is very high, very, very high. And once he's still, that elbow's still braced up. It's not like, out there willy-nilly, it's still, he can't extend it all the way when he's rushing. He's trying to, but he can't extend it all the way. And it's not as flexible in the brace that it would be normally, So when he gets that flexibility in that arm back, that strength in that arm back, then, his rushes can become more varied. He can vary them up better. But right now, you're seeing a very good dip shoulder rush. You're seeing a very good power rush from him. You're seeing but he doesn't really have that comeback inside rush as smoothly. He tries to, but he doesn't have that strength in the elbow to slap and come back inside. When he gets that, folks, when he gets that back, it's going to be redonkulous, as I like to say, redonkulous, because that just puts a triple-headed rush onto a tackle's head. Like, which one's he going to do? Right now, it's like they can kind of set him inside and let him, try to get him to run the hoop and go around the outside and not worry about him coming back on him just yet. But when he can come back inside, you're talking like Bosa brother type rushing coming off the edge here, Micah Parsons style rushing coming off the edge here, okay? Like, this kid's got it. He's just limited a little bit right now. And also, he didn't play his senior year really in football, college, because he got hurt. So, and then he got hurt here. So, he's still out there taking reps and figuring it out and feeling his way through. I think where you'll see Thibodeaux really start to excel from where I seen him a couple weeks ago in his first action till now, I'm thinking, maybe 4 more weeks. Give him another month before that redonkulous ability starts to hit. right now it's really good. I mean, obviously we'll take, if we just got this all year, we'll take it. Like it's awesome, and then mature him in the offseason. But he's come a long way just a few weeks ago in his recognition of play development and where players and schemes and things. Like you could see his head working. He's not getting fooled as much. The first week they took advantage of his rookiness. They threw some stuff on him, and he didn't know where it was. Today, I thought he did some really good recognition stuff, changed direction, prevented a few passes. Wasn't thinking just sack, but also, oh, I got to just prevent this pass, or I got to get in the way to make it a more difficult pass, right? Like, don't worry about just the sacks. You got to worry about the whole game, right? And I saw some maturation of that today for sure. So I think he's going to be a fantastic player. Pairing him with Williams and Lawrence, and I'm really, again, Smith is starting to play well. And then you got, if Ojulari is able to come back off his injury, it's going to be silly. I mean, I said the whole time through, but I'm going to stay with it. It's going to get silly.
The Giants also, they brought up Landon Collins this week to play sort of that hybrid safety inside linebacker role. Landon's just thrilled to be back here, by the way. And just, what Wink is doing on the back end of the defense. I mean, you saw them, the Jaguars were going after Fabian Moreau there at the end. I think that defensive backfield has been one of the biggest, if not the biggest surprises on this team, pleasant surprises, as opposed to unpleasant surprises like the receivers. I mean, what are they doing to kind of mask any issues they have back there?
He's really not masking much. If you look at him, he's playing a lot of man. I mean, this dude's just trying to get to the quarterback, and he's trying to prevent throws or just anticipate, not prevent, just factor in the rush on the throws, right? So I don't think he's doing anything complicated in the back end. For me, when I look at it, I see a lot of Wink playing man, which is what Wink likes to do. And he's asking his front to get there and, move the quarterback off the spot and try to, intimidate the pass and factor in their rush and their angles and stuff. So I don't see much complication in the back end. And I think he has to keep it simple because of the injuries and the people he has playing. And he can't get into some of the trap stuff he likes to do and some of the more complicated stuff because, we had an injury late in the game today, and we had to throw somebody out there, and they went right after that guy. The guy knew what his role was right in play. Didn't come out of the game, didn't get lost in the coverage, right? But I think he's having to keep the back end simple because he doesn't have everybody he was counting on being there.
And that injury was to Adoree Jackson, who was replaced by Nick McLeod. All right, David, before we take a break, same question as last time. Identity of this defense?
It's the front. It's 100% blitz front. You have to know that when you have Wink Martindale as your defensive coordinator, even late in the game when you would have thought they would have played more prevent or something. He was blitzing. He was coming. He was bringing his 5 and 6. So I think the identity of this defense is gonna be 100%. The success of the front will be 100% of the success of this defense.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk about some of the coaching points, the teaching points, because there were a few, as you've mentioned. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll just wrap things up here on the LockedOn Giants podcast right after this. Hey, Giant fans, playing daily fantasy based on player projections has never been easier when you visit prizepicks.com. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they go on to score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times the amount of your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks is currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada and offers projections on every sport. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and Prize Picks offers safe and fast withdrawals. Download the Prize Picks app today or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. Don't forget, enter that promo code LOCKEDON at sign up at prizepicks.com. Hey, Giant fans, thank you for making the LockedOn Giants podcast your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On Sports Today can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast, segment 3. We are with David Turner, former NFL scout. We are breaking down the New York Giants 23-17 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I can get used to doing this every week, talking about a win. It's a lot of fun. I'm smiling, and it's a legitimate smile. But David, as we talked about in the start of the show, there were some teaching points, maybe a little sloppiness here and there. Receivers were dropping balls, for example. What are some of the biggest coaching points that you took away that you think Dable is going to emphasize this week?
Well, one is special teams, because we got a block on special teams, and that helped factor into game planning and calling the game and everything, how it all came to be. So, because if they would have had that extra point onto their score, right, then at the end of the game, they could have went for a field goal, I believe, and tied it, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So therefore, I'm just saying, like, special teams, we get on them all the time, at least I do, because they don't hold the rush lanes really well. But at the same time, it was an opportunity where you could have just if I don't know. I like it. I like what I saw of special teams today. It's one of them say. And I think special teams is going to be a factor in this team eventually. I know the score was 23-17, so people were like, "What are you saying about the field goal?" What I'm saying is, like, Jacksonville in a couple of those situations might have been able to kick field goals and go up, but because they had they were so far back off that block, they had to actually go for the touchdown and different things. So,
and you're talking about the Jaguars kick that was blocked, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay.
So, anyways, just saying, the play calling could have been different if they had that point onto their score. Sometimes you go for different things when you don't have that, because you're adding up different totals and scenarios in your mind. That being said, I thought special teams it was good today for us. I thought we had we had good coverages. We had some good returns. We had the block, so I wanted to give them a little credit. But as far as coaching points, more of what I think you're going to see emphasis of is going to be blocking up front. There will be missing blocks. The receivers, it's funny because in preseason, I know I gave them kudos for catching everything. Like, I know there was a game in preseason that I thought the receivers just caught every dang ball, and it was just impressive. But it seems to be going down, and I don't know why, because it doesn't look like ball placement is out of control. I think Daniel's still putting the ball in the right places, but these receivers are dropping the passes. So I don't know if it's concentration. I don't know if it's hand use or strength. I don't know what it is, but they got to get it fixed, because it's the NFL and margins are so small. You have to get every catch that hits your hands. And I know there was one screen pass today. Daniel put a little extra mustard on it, and Wan'Dale Robinson dropped a pass, on the screen, which was wide open. It was a great play call. I mean, if he would have caught the ball, he would have been off and running. It was really a well blocked play. But Daniel put a little extra mustard on it. But you got to, as a receiver, you're in the NFL, you got to catch that one. You got to feel the sting in your hands and go. Like, it's just the way it is. You got to make it happen. So I think that's going to be a big coaching point. I think blocking up front, again, we can always get better there. And today Daniel still took a couple hits. I think we only gave up one sack, but he was still under a fire drill back there for some of the games. So we got to clean up the blocking and show it up a little bit, shore it up a little bit. So that's on offense. On defense, it's going to be those run fits. I really think the run fits and the rush fits, because he ran a couple games where it looked like people ran into each other today. up front. I'm talking Wink ran a couple stunts, and the defensive players ran into each other. So they just need to understand better rush lanes and where they're coming from, knowing, being familiar of, hey, when we're running a team, and you're going to push my guy, I got to come around tighter, or I got to come around looser, or I get to give you more time to push them. I can't come off that block so quick. There's just little nuances right now that I think they're going to clean up in order to see the effectiveness of this team really start to explode here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, indeed. The Giants, one more game before their bye week. They go to Seattle to face the upstart Seattle Seahawks. The team is doing a lot better than I thought they would, actually. So that's coming up. And then the bye week. And it's get back in the lab and I guess, plan for the second half. And, we'll talk about that when we get, after next week's show, obviously. But just final thoughts on how far the Giants have come.
I think you're seeing a great addition to this team, which is this coaching staff. It's a very impressive coaching staff, young at a lot of spots, but they're very well coached. They're coaching well. They're not getting rattled. They're staying calm and staying in it. I see Wink and Dable talking on the sidelines, and they seem to be in lockstep with each other. And there's a lot of confidence Dable has in Wink, and he should, because Wink's he's a veteran coach in this league. He's seen it all. From when he was with the Raiders to Baltimore, he's seen it all. So, for him and for Dabo, Dabo's seen a ton too. So it's a situation where I think you see these coaches walking in lockstep. I think that's the best addition. A lot of these players, we have some new additions to this team, but a lot of them were players that we've had before, and, they're just getting more out of them now. So, it's a situation where I think the coaching is really starting to show through.
Indeed. Absolutely. This coaching has been tremendous. Brian Dable, I'm sure, still very much in the Coach of the Year running. Probably something he would say, "Nah, I don't deserve it," but he deserves it. For what he's been able to do with this program, with getting these guys turned around, getting them on the right track. And at this point, you can't honestly say that, oh, they've gotten lucky, or, oh, who've they beaten? They've beaten some good teams.
They absolutely have beaten some good teams. They've beaten some solid teams, and they're on a great journey. Like, this is a great journey, and it's fun to do these shows with you, Patricia, and be able to watch it and factor into seeing it each and every week, because obviously what the Giants mean to my career is already been known and said. But to just watch these young men and this young team make this journey, like Daniel Jones was somebody people were ready to write off, and even Barkley, like, people were like, he's not the same. He's not going to be the same after his injuries. Look at what they're doing. These two young kids are doing great things. And we talk about the blocking each and every week isn't what it needs to be for them, and they're still pulling it off. The defense is pulling off. Today, the last play of the game was a throw to the end zone, and the defensive guys at the 1 yard line stopped them from getting in, stopped them from scoring a touchdown, and keeping the game, locked up in that last couple seconds. So, they're gritty and they're winning, and they're taking on the identity of their two coaches, both Wink and Dable. And I think it's really fun to watch them. And I'll be honest, I hope this coaching staff stays together for another year and it doesn't get broken up, because next year will be even better. But this year's not over yet, folks. We're still going to have a lot of fun this year. I think this team, with the schedule they have in front of them, we're definitely going to be in a situation where we're talking about this team late into the year and into the season. But don't overlook the Seahawks. They're up right now 24-14. So
they've been playing better.
They're playing better. Geno Smith is playing a lot better than I gave him credit before the season. So Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator, their defense isn't really stopping much up there, but that offense is putting up the points it needs to. And it's an offense that people did not give a lot of credit to before going into the season. So Shane Waldron is dialing up a lot of cool plays and things up there. So I think next week will be a fun gun battle for us to go and watch.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have a great night. We can sit back and we can, smile about the latest win by the Giants, but still another week ahead and one week at a time for Brian Dable and company. So that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Giants podcast. David, as always, great insight. Thank you for coming on with me. Giant fans, thank you for tuning into the Locked On Giants podcast. Twitter Tuesdays tomorrow. Get those questions in. You can send them to me on Twitter at Patricia_Traina with the hashtag AskPTrain. You can also email them to me at LockedOnGiantsPodcast@gmail.com. And if I have them in by about 7 o'clock on Monday night, they should make it into the show for Tuesday. So on that note, for David Turner, I'm Patricia Traina. Thank you for making the Locked On Giants podcast your first listen of the day, or if watching on YouTube, your first watch of the day. We will see you tomorrow, Giant fans.